What supplements should every horse have? What a question.
I did not write this, and you did not write this, right?
I did not write this.
And I'm sure this is the same place you went to, but when I get asked that, and I get asked that a lot, and also, what is your horse on? I step back and think, well, what is the horse getting? First, forage first. So you said earlier, the 1 to 2% of the body weight in high quality forage. That's got to be like the basis. And then you want to make sure that using the body condition scoring, that your horse is at an ideal weight, and that's the calories or the energy that you provide. And it might need to be a grain, or it might need to be alfalfa, wheat pulp, or fats or something. Then you've got to complete and balance the diet for the proteins or the amino acids and the vitamins and minerals. And now you can begin to think of, okay, next would be maybe salt. Make sure, because there's not a lot of salt, unlike human feedstuffs, not a lot of salt in horse feedstuffs. So you got to provide that. And then I think that making sure that the omega-3 amount and balance is correct is next. And then, and only then, do I begin to think about, now, so what supplements should horses be on then, every horse? And also, what problems does my individual horse have that there might be a supplement that can support him?
But two that you just mentioned, salt and omegas, there are a lot of supplements that contain those because we know a lot of horses' diets are lacking.
But it's interesting that they're considered sort of the base diet. Yeah.
But there's still, it tends to be a gap for some people, especially on the salt one, where we think of it like people, where it's like, oh, you probably have too much. Not the same for horses.
No, it's not the same at all. Yeah, I don't know that they have high blood pressure. So, so as far as what every horse needs, I kind of think that based on that wild horse, the Mustang research, that showed they had joint distress, even though there were Mustangs they weren't going to shows and they weren't jumping fences and doing canter pirouettes. So that tells me that every horse needs some joint support, because there's just from living, just from being alive. I mean, I'm not an elite athlete. I know, shocking, but my joints hurt. So, I'm on a joint supplement. So I kind of think I would reach for a joint supplement first. I know my horse, when I got him, he was 4. He was not halter broken. And my friend...
I bet he was wild.
Yeah, a little bit. Actually knocked me down a few times. But my friend who worked for a supplement company gave me a new horse present. I don't know what it's called. But
a horse warming.
A horse warming present. And it was a joint supplement. And so he's 17 now, and so he's been on one for 13 years. Yeah. The other thing that probably every horse you should at least have a conversation maybe with your veterinarian about is vitamin E. Because unless your horse is on fresh green pasture, so if your horse is just eating hay, I'm almost positive that not getting the amount of vitamin E that he needs per day. And then if you add on work or exercise, that amount that's required goes up. So then for sure. So I would probably have a conversation or do some reading about vitamin E and say, this is what my horse gets, and this is what he needs, and what's that gap? And so fill that in. And from there is when I begin to look at the problems. There is a category that I'm sort of torn between, which is the digestion.
That's what I thought you were going.
Because you're like, well, every horse doesn't need digestion, except that the horses in general are pretty fragile creatures. Right? The microbiome, or the bacteria that live in their hindgut, they're pretty fragile as well. So any little change, and they're like, danger, Will Robinson. So that, and the fact that if there is some GI distress, it can be pretty serious.
Pretty quickly.
Now I've talked myself into, well, maybe every horse should be on a digestive support supplement.
Especially if you consider the risk factors for digestive stress, which are things like changes in hay. Even if it's a new cut from the same field, can increase a horse's risk of digestive stress by like 10 times, research has
and
said.
Grain like 5 times. Yeah.
Yep. And then there's things like increased time spent in a stall, whose horses don't encounter that. And so there's so many things that are really common risks.
And that are out of your control sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. That can increase that risk of digestive stress.
So I think we've talked ourselves around to adding digestion to
it's a good one.
Support to that. And now I come to the individual problem. So if your horse has icky looking hooves, or maybe the top line needs developed, or like this other lady, the last question, her horse was like, I don't want an insect within a mile of me. My horse doesn't care. And so there's supplements for each of those issues, and that's when you begin to design your horse's personal SmartPak of supplements to address, find the solution to the problem that you are having with your individual horse.
So if I can give a brief shout out, because it is so hard to say a blanket recommendation of this is what your horse needs, that's why we have a whole team upstairs that you come every month to give continuing education training to. We have a team of customer care supplement experts who are just a call or click or even text away now, that you can reach out to, and they'll walk through all of those questions. They're trained to help you uncover problems that you may not have realized that supplements could help with, or just really understand your goals and help you with your horse. And if you are like me, a person who would rather die than pick up the phone and call someone with it, you can use the wizard at smartpak.com/wizard, which walks you through the same questions that can kind of help you uncover those areas of support that your horse might benefit from.
You don't need me.
I mean, you don't need a blanket recommendation, because you can get a customized one, and it's really easy.
Yep. Perfect.